Howdy, y'all. I'm Justin.
And I'm Kim.
Welcome to Cowboys Like Us, the podcast where we talk about Taylor Swift and her music. Yeehaw. Hello, and welcome to Cowboys Like Us, the podcast the entire state of Louisiana refuses to listen to. Seriously, guys, it's driving me a little bit nuts. So I'm putting this out there here and now. Listeners, if you know someone who lives in the state of Louisiana, text them, call them, whatever you got to do. Tell them to listen to one episode of this podcast. They don't even have to have the audio on. They can mute it. Just let it play in the background. Because I can see which states we have and which we don't. And we have most of them. And the one that's closest to me that we don't have is Louisiana. That's driving me crazy. So I'm putting that out there. If we do not get a listen from Louisiana this week, then every intro joke is going to be my bit where I do fake slogans about the state of Louisiana until we get one. I'm putting it out there here and now.
Okay.
I'm over it. I'm over it. You have been warned. Today, we're talking about All Too Well, Taylor's magnum opus from Red, and of course re-recorded for Red Taylor's version. Just a quick little note here. The 10-minute and the regular versions, they're both covered in this episode. We're not going to do a separate one for the 10-minute or anything like that.
Right.
So we're going to talk about it here.
Right.
And how it compares to the short one.
Because if we cover the 10-minute one, we cover the regular one.
Indubitably.
So this is basically the 10-minute episode.
Basically, yep.
And just by that, we knock out the other one as well.
Mm-hmm. Comes with it. Poll results. We've got some. You, the people, voted, and you gave If This Was a Movie a 6 out of 10.
Yep. That's all right.
Yep. That's probably the floor for the audience scores, because anybody who cares enough to vote probably likes it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. That seems about right.
Yep.
Any other pod business you want to get into before we get into this huge, mega, super-sized episode?
Not pod business, I don't believe.
Okay, then. Let's just jump in to the news. News from around the Taylorverse. The Tortured Poets Department. We are officially, as of the day that we record this podcast, 1 week away. By the time you hear it, be even closer still.
Yep. Be about 4 days at that point.
Yep. Do we have a single yet? This was the last chance for her to put out a pre-drop single.
And we don't.
And we do not have one. So we're gonna go in blind.
Yep. The only thing we have is a clip that may or may not be AI generated. Nobody can decide. Of Fortnite, maybe. Again, it could be AI generated. It's super probable that it's AI generated. But unfortunately, that clip has been stuck in my head for 2 days. So if it turns out it's not an actual leak of a bit of the song, I'm going to be very sad. And I need that song.
Yep. Well, we'll see. That leak you talk about, it seems like it's recorded on someone's phone in the studio. Taylor and Jack can be heard talking about the production over it. So, to me, that seems compelling, but we'll find out.
Yeah, I don't know. There's like a crisper version of it.
I have not heard the crisper.
On TikTok, yeah. So, that's the one that's stuck in my head.
Isolated.
But I think it's basically the same.
Yeah, they just isolated it. Yeah. Well, we'll find out soon enough. During the eclipse, which apparently is something people care about, that happened on Monday, April 8th, Taylor shared a video on Instagram of a typewriter that typed out, quote, "Crowd goes wild at her fingertips, half moonshine, full eclipse." People have assumed that these are lyrics from the Tortured Poets Department. Though what song, who can say?
Yep. Don't know. But it's weird.
It is weird.
And she's been, like, kind of, and by she, I mean Taylor and Taylor Nation, have been pointing towards something happening when the eclipse happens for a while now. So everybody thought it would be a little bit bigger than just some lyric drops, but apparently not.
But it wasn't.
She keeps playing us.
One thing we did find out this week is the track lengths for the standard album.
Yep.
The longest track is But Daddy I Love Him, which is 5 minutes and 40 seconds long. The shortest is I Can Fix Him, No Really I Can, at 2 minutes 36 seconds. And the standard album in total has a runtime of 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 8 seconds, which makes it the third longest of Taylor's standard albums, behind Speak Now at 1 hour, 7 minutes, 29 seconds, and Red at 1 hour, 5:09. So 1 second shorter than the original version of Red. No bonus tracks, just the standard Red album.
Yep. And as of right now, it still looks like we're not going to get any of the bonus tracks that are included with the different vinyl variants.
It does seem that way.
On streaming. Yeah, at initial release. I feel like we'll get them eventually, but...
Yes, that is how it seems. We will get them probably at some point. Maybe it's like a little mini EP, digital EP that goes up on Spotify. All 4 together.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yep. So I wonder how we're all going to be able to listen to those. I feel like somebody's going to have them on like YouTube or something.
Yep, we're going to have to get creative.
Yep.
Take to the seas once again.
Unfortunately.
Yep. What's not unfortunate is that Taylor Swift is back on TikTok.
Yep.
Taylor and all other Universal Music Group artists had their music pulled from TikTok due to a dispute over royalty fees a couple months back. This week, Taylor's music suddenly reappeared on the platform with no explanation of how or why. It just did. My thought, personally, is that Taylor decided the extra publicity that TikTok can generate for her is worth taking a hit on the royalty fees because she's already super loaded. So that's not her primary source of income.
Oh, yeah, and especially with a new album coming out. Like, that album wouldn't be eligible to be on TikTok, and that would hurt her.
Yep.
Severely.
And it is worth noting also that Taylor has more autonomy to make a separate side deal due to the fact that she herself, and not Universal Music Group, owns her masters from Lover to Now. That was part of her...
Right, part of her deal.
Yep, why she signed with Universal. That they'd let her do that, so... Yep. Other Universal artists may not have that freedom to do that.
Yeah.
So, speaking of anonymous people... That's not a good segue.
I was like, other artists?
You know what? Let's just go. Let's just go ahead. In other news, there is apparently a civil war brewing in Taylor's squad. The lady squad, girl squad. They're women. Women's squad.
Just squad.
Just squad.
Just squad.
The Tay squad. Swift squad.
Swift squad.
Well, anyway.
The Squirtle squad.
According to our favorites out there, the anonymous sources, we know and we love them.
Yep.
There is some beef between Blake Lively and Selena Gomez. They allegedly hate one another and refuse to be in the same room at the same time, and it's getting to be such a pain in Taylor's ass that she may have to give one of them the boot soon. Quote, Taylor's tried many times to broker peace between these two divas, but they won't play nice. She thinks it's silly the way they carry on, especially since the two don't even know where all this hating began. The truth is, Selena's insanely jealous of Taylor's friendship with Blake. Blake was on hand to help Taylor celebrate her birthday in December, and Selena was seething about it for weeks. Selena and Blake are extremely petty sometimes, and it stresses Taylor out. Either they start getting along, or one of them's gonna have to go.
Oh my god, this is absolute bullshit. I had not read this, and you told me about it. You were like, apparently there's something brewing. Whatever.
Yeah, I teased it.
Yeah, you were like, we're going to talk about it. But I hadn't read any of the quotes or anything, and this is absolute bullshit.
What makes you so convinced?
Because it's talking about two grown-ass women like they're 12-year-olds in middle school. Like, you don't even have a reason. You can't even cite a reason. You just say that Blake was at Taylor's birthday and Selena wasn't, and she's mad about it. No. No, they're grown women. They're not mad over shit like that.
It could obviously be just the media being messy bitches who live for drama. We've talked about that.
I'm 100% convinced that's what it is.
However,
Yeah.
I would
Play devil's advocate.
I would say, just because someone is a grown woman, maybe in her 60s even, does not mean she can't have middle school-esque beef with other women in their 60s about who didn't call who and who didn't text who and who's hanging out with whom. I've seen it. I've heard it. It doesn't make sense, but it's a thing that happens.
No, that is true. That is true. But I know it to be true that...
And it's not just a woman thing. Guys will do it too.
No, that's
Guys
true.
will do it too.
That's true. But I know it to be fact that Selena has other people in her life
Right?
that she considers best friends.
Like Raquel,
Mm-hmm.
who Kimberly loves. Kimberly's favorite.
Yeah. And so does Taylor. Like, you can have more than one best friend. You know what I mean? That's what it boils down to.
Sure.
And I feel like the position that they're in, and for as long as they have been friends, and as long as Taylor and Blake have been friends, like, it genuinely could be that Blake and Selena just don't have personalities that get along.
Yeah, it could be.
But for the lives that all of them live, I don't see it actually being that big of a problem. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like it's like, oh my god, we're, you know... It's putting Taylor in such a weird position that she can't have her two best friends in the same room at the same time. When are they ever all in the same room? Like, their schedules don't line up like that.
So you don't think the ultimatum is forthcoming? It's her or me? You don't think that's coming? Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Kimberly is on record.
No, I think everyone's friendship with Taylor is perfectly safe. And honestly, right now, Taylor's in a relationship that's going pretty well, it seems. Blake has children. And Selena is also in a relationship that seems to be going well for her. So, I don't feel like any of them have a lot of time for each other anyway.
Indeed. It's probably just a bunch of tabloid nonsense.
Yeah.
But one thing we do know is what Morgan Wallen has been up to this week. He's a...
I sure would like to know how this relates to Taylor.
Well, allow me to explain.
Okay.
So, country music star and famed N-word sayer
Yeah.
Morgan Wallen
Uh-huh.
was performing at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, as you do.
Yep.
He mentioned to the crowd that they had set a record. He said, quote, "They told me right before I walked on stage that this is the single most attended concert in the history of this building, and that we are the first people to do that 2 nights in a row. I'm going to say that until Taylor Swift comes to town in the fall."
Okay.
Now, that is a seemingly good-natured, self-deprecating quip. You know, we did good, but Taylor Swift is going to blow us out of the water.
Better. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the fans booed harshly, loudly, for a long time. Morgan, to his credit, got onto him and said repeatedly, "We ain't gotta boo. We ain't gotta boo," trying to calm him down. And eventually they did calm down, and life continued. But then, shortly after leaving Indianapolis, Mr. Wallen arrived in Nashville and went to Eric Church's bar, where he was soon arrested for allegedly throwing a chair off the roof of the 6-story building and onto
it's
Broadway.
allegedly now?
For legal reasons, it is allegedly, yeah.
Okay. Allegedly. Yeah.
That's how it relates to Taylor, because he mentioned Taylor.
Gotcha.
And then defended her from his
Okay.
mob of fans.
No, I appreciate him saying, we don't gotta boo.
We don't got to.
Because obviously, it was a good-natured, lighthearted joke.
Yep. Not that serious.
And if you can't take it as such, you're a giant man-child. Or a giant young 20s lady child. His fans. However, I'm gonna go on record and say that it may not be true across the board for the whole podcast, but at least this part of the podcast, being me, would prefer him to just not talk about Taylor ever, or bring Swifties into anything to do with his fans, because that is going to become a problem, and he's a problem, and not a fan.
Yeah. It seems to me that the man has a drinking problem.
He has many problems.
And he needs to get help with it. So, hopefully he does.
White privilege only being a little bit of the problem.
Speaking of white privilege, the Kelsey Bros on their New Heights podcast this week gave a couple of interesting quotes from the episode. Travis talked about the attention he's got from Swifties, saying, quote, "It's fun. I'm having a blast in life, baby. Just flying high, enjoying it all, bringing new lives to the football world and opening up the football world to new things."
Yep.
So he's an ambassador for the game.
Yep. Love him.
Pod guest Lil Dicky
Lil Diggy.
commented on Tavis and said, quote, "It's the best thing ever. I think there's just something that makes everyone feel like the world is like high school, where your most popular pop star, beloved musician somehow met your most popular beloved athlete and they actually fell in love and it's just real. Anyone who hates on it is a bitter loser."
Yep.
True fact. And then Travis was asked how he got Taylor. How'd you do it?
Howdy Snagger.
Yep. How'd you get the girl? He said, quote, "I don't know how I did it because she wasn't into sports. So I don't know how the fuck I did it. Haha, no, I know exactly how I did it."
In the meantime of him saying this, when he says like, haha, no, I know exactly how I did it.
Wink, wink.
Jason and Lil Diggy start prodding him and poking at him and being like, "Oh, you know how you did it," whatever.
Yep.
They start messing with him. So then he's like saying it as a joke more than anything.
Yeah, he knows. And finally, Coachella. It starts today as we record, Friday, April 12th. It's a 2-weekend music festival.
It so doesn't feel as big as it used to be. Is that just me, or is that the case?
I don't know. I've never gone, obviously.
Well, yeah.
And so I've never had any interest in it, really. So I don't know.
I feel like in the year 2014, it was just like peak. Like, it was in the fashion, it was constantly in the news, everybody was talking about Coachella. Coachella was almost like a personality trait rather than like a music festival.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, oh yeah, that's a thing.
Well, I feel like there are more festivals now.
Yeah, they've kind of exploded.
They're everywhere, yeah.
It's just music festivals in general and
all
not
year
just
long.
Coachella.
Yep. Well, anyway, lots of Taylor's friends are going to be performing at Coachella. Lana Del Rey is headlining both Fridays, so the 12th and the 19th. Jack Antonoff and his band Bleachers are going to be performing, as is Ice Spice and Sabrina Carpenter.
Oh.
Not together, although I would watch that.
That would be something.
Yep. So, gonna go out and support her friends, perhaps. And the rumor is that Taylor and Travis are gonna be staying at the Madison Club, a fancy, members-only golf club that also has swimming pools, a spa, and world-class fitness centers with certified personal trainers. Do you want to join the Madison Club, listener? Well, you can, as a new golf member. All you have to do is pay $250,000 initiation fee,
Yep.
and then an annual fee of just $70,000. Very attainable.
I'm gonna tell you right now that you're probably gonna need a handful of recommendation letters from current members.
Right. Also.
That they have to be able to write for you, so you're gonna need to know some members.
Yep. You're never getting in.
Just from
Never.
experience, you're not getting in.
Just get over it. Kimberly, do you have any other news you want to get to?
No, I think we talked about everything I was gonna touch on.
Cool. Well, then let's go to Chart Watch. On the Billboard Artist 100, Taylor dropped to number 2 this week behind Beyonce, whose album Cowboy Carter came out and is dominating the charts. On the Billboard Hot 100 Singles Chart, Cruel Summer rose 2 spots to number 14. Is It Over Now dropped out of the chart altogether. On the Billboard Top 200 Albums chart, Lover is down 1 to number 8. 1989 TV is down 3 to number 12. Midnight stayed at 14. Folklore stayed at 18. Reputation rose 2 spots to number 23. Red TV stayed at 34. Speak Now TV up 1 to number 37. Evermore stayed at 39. Fearless TV dropped 3 spots to number 74. And 1989 stolen down 7 spots to number 99.
One more spot to go, right? No, it's 200, never mind.
101 spots to go.
Damn it! Damn it!
Yep. And now, it's time to go to the circus, Kimberly's Clown Corner, to learn about the greatest relationship of modern times.
Yeah, that might be true.
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
Kimberly's Clown Corner.
All right. Welcome back. And strap in.
Gonna be a long one. That's what he said.
Well, we're gonna keep it as concise as we possibly can because we got a lot to talk about. So we can't have Jake Gyllenhaal taking up more time in this episode
Yep.
than necessary. All right. So first things first, I've got to knock out my sources because I don't want to get flagged.
All right.
All right. Vulture.com.
Heard of it.
People.com.
Heard of it.
InStyle.com.
Heard of it.
GQ.com.
Heard of it.
J14.com.
Have not heard of it.
Well, you should. It's a Teen Bop magazine. Except it's not Teen Bop because that is a magazine. Anyway, USweekly.com.
Heard of it.
And r/Taylor Swift.
Heard of it.
Okay. So, let us go back to October of 2010.
Ah, what a time. What a time. I was a sophomore in college.
Yeah. So, specifically, on the 23rd of October, 2010, Taylor Swift and Jake Gyllenhaal are spotted backstage at Saturday Night Live.
Now, you've mentioned this person, Jake Gyllenhaal, a couple of times. Who is this?
Jake Gyllenhaal is an actor.
He's in the theater, then.
He is in theater and the talkies.
He's in the talkies. Yes, of course.
Cinematic productions, the talkies.
Has he been in anything good?
Spider-Man.
He was in that Spider-Man. Yeah.
He was in Spider-Man.
He was in that one. I don't remember which one. One of them. One of the Tom Holland Spider-Mans.
It's the one where they go to London.
Yeah. Mysterio. That's
yeah.
what he played.
Yep.
Yep.
Anyway, basically, you've probably... Oh! He was in Brokeback Mountain.
He was in Brokeback Mountain.
That's a better one. He was in Brokeback Mountain.
The gay cowboy movie. He was in that one.
He was a gay cowboy in a gay cowboy movie. Anyway, but Google him. You've seen his face before. He's been in movies you've seen, but also nothing notable.
Yep, you've heard of him. I'm doing a bit.
I think he was in Donnie Darko, if you've seen that, but I haven't seen it, so.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird sort of cult, horror, psychological thriller movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, he's been in some other shit too. But anyway, Google him if you want to know more about what he was in.
Yep.
Anyway, other than that, all you need to know is he's a Nepo baby. His parents are all in the Hollywood film industry.
His sister's an actress.
His sister Maggie is an actress, and his godmother is Jamie Lee Curtis. So.
Okay.
And he's also just like a pretentious douchebag, so.
Yep. We're going to get to that.
Anyway. Okay. So, Taylor Swift and Jake Gyllenhaal are spotted backstage at Saturday Night Live. It should be noted here that Taylor is, 19, 20 years old.
Just a little baby.
And Jake is 29 years old.
How old are you right now?
30. Me?
Yeah.
I am 28.
Okay. So almost your age.
Yes, Jake was my age, and Taylor was the age of no one I know currently.
Some people who work for me who are very young.
Yeah.
Very young.
Yeah. Taylor was the age of a college student, and Jake was my age.
Yikes.
A full-grown adult.
It sure would be weird if those people had sex.
It would.
It would be.
It would. I, personally, can't imagine it. It's kind of weird and gross, from my perspective, as the 28, almost 29-year-old in this scenario.
Yeah.
Which really, he was 29, almost 30. So, anyway. All right.
Predatory, one might say.
So, why was Taylor Swift? Nobody really cares why Jake was there, but why was Taylor at SNL?
Was she the musical guest? Or the host?
Emma Stone was hosting.
Oh.
Obviously, we know Taylor and Emma are friends.
That's right.
But, according to our favorite and anonymous source, Taylor brought Jake as her date. But they were careful not to be seen too close.
I've been there. You're going to be on camera. You don't want to have sex while the camera's on you. So you got to time it just right.
I think it's safe to say at this point they probably had not had sex yet.
I don't know that, but I will take your word for it.
I think it's probably safe to say.
All right, we can assume it.
Yeah. Okay, so why would she be bringing Jake as her date? Well, it comes out in a interview in December of the same year that Gwyneth Paltrow
Heard of her?
actually set them up.
Mm.
So earlier in the year, before October at some point, they both attended a dinner at Gwyneth and then husband Chris Martin, lead singer for Coldplay,
Mm-hmm.
London home.
I see.
So Gwyneth was asked about it in an interview, and she reluctantly confirmed that she was the matchmaker,
Uh-oh.
saying, "I've just known Jake for a long time, and he's a great guy. And Chris has a friendship with Taylor." She said the dinner was, quote, a while ago, but the two were together, obviously, by October.
Right.
So we don't know when they met, but they were together by October. So the next day, they are spotted having brunch in Brooklyn.
Objectively the sexiest meal.
Oh, yeah. Taylor had her arm draped around Jake during a stroll through the Park Slope neighborhood after brunch.
Mm-hmm.
We don't hear much more about Taylor and Jake. But during this time, I don't have a specific date,
Okay.
they are spotted in upstate New York
Mm-hmm.
apple picking.
Oh. I've never done that because I'm from the South and we don't have apple trees here.
No, but Taylor was in her true, like,
New England.
it's fall time, let's do all the fall things era.
Yeah.
So they went apple picking on a date. Very cute. So between this time and November, they're doing the fall things. They're hanging out. They're having fun, right?
Uh-huh.
Then, on November 25th, they spend Thanksgiving together.
Mm.
They're spotted getting specifically maple lattes
Very seasonally appropriate.
at a coffee shop near Maggie Gyllenhaal's house.
Mm. The Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Yes. They are photographed holding hands while later in the day out with Maggie and her family.
Sure.
So, maple lattes are a thing of note because the liner note, if you refer back to when we talked about all of those in an early episode, the liner note for All Too Well is maple lattes. The only person that she's drank maple lattes with is Jake Gyllenhaal.
That we know of.
And we know that they got maple lattes because the barista at the coffee shop said that's what they ordered. And also, Jake apparently orders coffee with, like, maple syrup in it all the time. It's, like, his go-to.
Yeah, okay.
If they don't have a maple latte on the menu, he gets coffee with maple syrup in it.
I don't drink coffee, so I don't know if that's insane, but it sounds like it is.
Like, later on, they go to Nashville and they go to a coffee shop, and the barista, like, somebody was interviewed, and she was like, yeah, he got coffee with maple syrup in it.
Super weird.
Yeah, it's very strange. Anyway, so they go get maple lattes. They walk around with Maggie and her family after Thanksgiving dinner. This is also when she is spotted wearing this particular scarf in a picture with Jake that fans claim to have seen him wearing multiple times after they have broken up. So, it is assumed that it is the scarf in reference in this song, but I guess it could be his scarf that she borrowed. Hard to say. But it does seem crazier if it's her scarf and he kept it and then wears it.
Allegedly.
Right. So, 2 days after Thanksgiving, they go to Nashville.
Okay, I've been there.
And another source...
Morgan Wallen's been there.
Yep. Another anonymous source from yet another coffee shop say they didn't look like just friends when they visited the coffee shop.
No shit.
They were spotted at 2 more coffee places between November 28th and November 30th. The coffee place shit is really playing into the whole, like, I listen to indie music.
Yep. Pretentious douche.
Yeah.
And you know he's not going to Starbucks. Jake's going to the local hole-in-the-wall mom and pop coffee shop.
Yeah.
Because that's where you get the real good quality beans.
Or
man.
they'll put maple syrup in your coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, skipping over to December 9th, Taylor spent time with Jake at his house in LA.
Mm-hmm.
And the next day, they were spotted driving through the city in Jake's Audi, laughing.
Ha 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 ha.
3 days after that, on December 13th, Taylor throws herself a Christmas-themed birthday party at home in Tennessee for her 21st birthday.
Kind of a big one.
Jake doesn't show up.
Gasp.
This is the inspiration and entire substance for the song The Moment I Knew.
Mm-hmm.
On the 19th, so again, just a few days later, Jake turns 30. Taylor also doesn't attend.
Seems fair.
They go on to not spend any time together over Christmas or New Year's. And on the 4th of January 2011, it is officially announced that they have split. It seems the split happened in December since they did not spend these big occasions with each other.
So how long, roughly, are we talking about that they did it? A few months? A year?
Confirmed, it was 2 months.
2 months that we know of.
Yeah, 2 months that we know of.
Okay. Possibly a little bit longer.
Could be longer than that, but I wouldn't say a year because based on the way that Gwyneth Paltrow said a while back, but it was probably earlier in the year that they had dinner. So I would say roughly like 9 months max.
Okay, so between 2 and 9 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not long at all.
Not very long, though.
Yeah. So, in the middle of January 2011, rumors start sparking that they are back together because they are seen together in Nashville.
Okay.
Sources say they seemed friendly at lunch together, but not affectionate. So maybe it's like a rekindling, just talking out the relationship kind of thing.
Perhaps.
2 years since the start of their relationship, in October of 2012, Taylor releases Red.
Probably doesn't talk about him at all, though, right?
Following the release of Red in 2013, Taylor did an interview with New York Magazine and revealed she had, quote, heard from the guy that most of Red is about. She said, quote, he was like, I just listened to the album and that was a really bittersweet experience for me. It was like going through a photo album. That was nice. Nicer than the ranting crazy emails I got from this one dude. John Mayer, maybe? It's a lot more mature way of looking at it. Looking at a love that was wonderful until it was terrible, and both people got hurt from it, but one of those people happened to be a songwriter. That is what Taylor said.
That is what Taylor said.
So what Jake said was specifically the part of, I just listened to the album, and that was a really bittersweet experience for me. It was like going through a photo album.
Okay.
So she says that was nice of him, nicer than what people have done in the past, assumingly John Mayer.
Sure.
That's a mature way of looking at it, a relationship that hurt two people, but one of them was a songwriter.
Yep.
So calling him mature.
Indeed.
So then, in 2015, they run into each other at the Golden Globes, and Taylor introduces him to the sisters Haim.
Heard of them?
This interaction is very short. Literally just long enough to say hello and introduce and then move on. Later in the year, in July, Jake does an interview with Howard Stern. Jake was asked about Taylor after Howard Stern said he was super attracted to Taylor and that Jake should have married her.
Yikes.
So gross.
Howard Stern is old.
And why does it matter if you're attracted to her? Why is that why Jake should marry her? But anyway.
Yep, doesn't matter.
Anyway, that Jake should marry her. And then Jake's response was, she's a beautiful girl.
Not a woman.
Nope, beautiful girl.
Okay, that's not great.
Yeah. Howard then suggested Jake has songs written about him. And he replied, do I? I don't know.
Yes, sir, you do.
He admitted that he had only been in love twice before and was the downfall of his past relationships. He said, quote, it was me, man. I think I probably just got scared. So that was 2015.
Sure.
So in September of 2017,
2 years later,
Maggie Gyllenhaal is asked about the infamous scarf. And after being read the lyrics from All Too Well, she replies, I'm in the dark about the scarf. It's totally possible. I don't know. I've been asked about this before.
Okay. She might have it.
She might have had a scarf at her house. She doesn't remember. Maybe playing coy, who's to say. So a few days after that, Jake, in a movie, played Boston Marathon bombing survivor Jeff Bowman, and they both did a Q&A together. In this Q&A, it should be noted that Bowman lost his legs in the bombing. That is of note.
Tragic note.
In this Q&A, Bowman asked Jake if Jake were to lose his legs, did he think that Taylor would write a song for him? And Jake says, about me losing my legs or like for me? And Bowman says, like for you, like a country song. And Jake responded, she's sort of moved more into pop now. That was his response. It wouldn't be a country song. It's more in pop now.
In fairness, that's a weird-ass question.
And that is a weird-ass question, but...
If you didn't have legs, you think Taylor would write a song about you? For you?
Well, it wouldn't be a country song because she's in pop now.
Yeah. That whole interaction is just weird as hell.
Yeah. In 2020, Taylor said that she was, quote, a broken human when she wrote All Too Well.
Yeah. It comes through, in the 10-minute version especially.
Yeah. And then in November of 2021, Taylor released Red, Taylor's version, with All Too Well 10-minute version.
Right.
In February of 2022, Jake finally breaks his silence on All Too Well. He tells Esquire, quote, "It has nothing to do with me. It's about her relationship with her fans. It's her expression. Artists tap into personal experience for inspiration, and I don't begrudge anyone for that." He then touches on being harassed by Swifties, and he said he's interested in the, quote, deeper philosophical question of whether artists should take responsibility for what we put into the world.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, I think it's important when supporters get unruly that we feel a responsibility to have them be civil and not allow for cyberbullying in one's name. So after saying, I don't know if I had songs written about me, she's more into pop now, being coy about it, he decides to address it head on.
Kind of.
And after sending her an email when it first comes out saying, oh, it was so nice to hear these songs, it was like looking through a photo album. Now they're not about him. Even though Taylor puts out a short film where the lead looks a whole lot like Jake, and the two leads, the boy and the girl, are right at the same ages that they both were when they dated. And in the movie, they do a lot of the things that Taylor and Jake did together, and the liner note is maple lattes. It's not about him. It's about the fans.
You told me that quote.
Yeah.
Earlier this week.
Yeah.
And it sounded bananas. So I've been thinking about it. And I think it's important to say right off the top, sometimes the things that we say and the things that we're trying to say are not the same.
Sure.
And what I think he was trying to say with that bananas ass quote was, the release of Red TV and All Too Well TV, it's really not about her actively hating me right now.
Oh, again, in this day.
Yeah, it's about releasing it for the fans, for the art, man. Because that's who gets it.
That does help make this make more sense, because my issue was that he says, it has nothing to do with me. It's about her relationship with her fans. It's her expression. Artists tap into personal experience for inspiration, and I don't begrudge anyone for that. So it's not about you.
It was inspired.
It was inspired by you. But
the choice to release it.
That was confusing. Yes, that was confusing. So, on this quote from Esquire that Jake put out, GQ decided that it was enough to write an entire article on about how Jake is so mature in his handling of his response to All Too Well.
Mm-hmm.
So, that is pretty much the extent of both of their discussion on what happened here. But, like we said, the relationship lasted, as we know it, from October to December. And the key points are that they were very lovey-dovey, hung out on Thanksgiving with his family, really in it, and then all of a sudden it combusted in December.
Right.
The finer details of all of that we can piece together from the songs that she has written about Jake, which are obviously this one, All Too Well.
Right.
And it's 10-minute and supposedly 20-minute versions.
Which we'll get into.
The Moment I Knew, like we mentioned. Also State of Grace, We Are Never Getting Back Together.
Mm-hmm.
The Last Time, Babe, I Bet You Think About Me, I Almost Do. And some people think Maroon is about Jake because it is a deeper, more mature shade of red. It touches on some of the same things that Red as an album touches on. And I can see it, but there are also other arguments of that Maroon could be about other people. So
Here's the thing about Maroon real quick.
Yeah.
If Taylor puts her feet in my lap and giggles at me, I dump her ass too. What kind of shit is that to
Wilson
do?
really has a problem with the line, laughing with my feet in your lap.
Like, you were my closest friend. Ain't no friend of mine close enough to be doing that shit.
So anyway, as much as this relationship has kind of like defined Taylor and Jake and Swifties in general and this community, and for as passionate as a lot of us, including me, feel about this relationship that they had, we really don't know a whole lot about it. We have a good bit of information, but we don't have a ton. And I think that the All Too Well short film kind of helps with filling in some of those gaps as well of what we don't actually know. It's, basically their relationship from her perspective.
Right.
From what we can tell.
Taylor was young. Taylor felt feelings very strongly as
for
young
an
people.
older man who was at a different point in his life who didn't feel the same feelings.
Yes. From Jake's perspective, one could assume that he sees it as sort of much ado about nothing.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot.
He was there to have a good time.
Yep. Here for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah, exactly. And Taylor thought they were in it forever. Maybe.
Or
at least a long time.
Sure. Well, it didn't work out. And you hate that. And we'll get into all the juicy details in the lyrics in a second. But for now, thank you, Kimberly. And let's get into some song facts. The original 5+ minute version of All Too Well was released on Red in 2012. The re-record and the 10-minute version were released on Red TV in 2021. According to a quote from Taylor, the original draft, I guess you could say, of All Too Well was like 20 minutes long. So we still don't have the full thing. Release the 20-minute version, Taylor, you coward.
Yeah, she wrote it with, you have this here, Liz Rose, and I believe it was Liz who said, we cannot release the 20-minute version. We gotta reel it in.
Gotta reel it in, yeah.
Gotta pull it back some. So they narrowed it down to a 10-minute version and then a 5-minute version. They released the 5-minute, and then obviously we got the 10 with the re-record.
Yep. Written by Taylor Swift and Liz Rose. Produced originally by Taylor Swift and Nathan Chapman. And the Taylor's versions were produced by Taylor Swift and Jack Antonoff, which I think is interesting because Taylor's usual sub-in for Chapman has been our friend Christopher Rowe. But instead she tapped Jack for All Too Well. And I wonder what that might signify, if anything. Does she trust him more?
Is this the only song that Jack worked on Red? Taylor's version?
I'm unsure. But I know Christopher Rowe was on it. A bunch of them.
Yeah. But if it's not the only one, then it's one of the only ones. Because Jack and Aaron are not on Red Taylor's version as much as they are on like the rest of them.
Yeah. I think he came in just to do this song. Pretty much. And
yeah.
I don't know why. Guess he just had the vision to do what Taylor wanted. Chart info. The original version peaked at number 80 on the Hot 100. While the Taylor's versions, they counted as 1 because chart reasons. They peaked at number 1 when Red TV came out. And then certifications. The original is certified platinum in Australia, gold in Portugal and the US, and silver in the United Kingdom. Taylor's versions, again counted as 1. Double platinum in Australia, platinum in the UK, and gold in New Zealand. The 10-minute version made it to some year-end best lists of best songs of 2021. It was number 1 on Insider and Variety. Rolling Stone collectively ranked it number 2, though on Big Boy Rob's personal rankings, it was number 1. The Ringer ranked it number 3, as did Time. New York Times ranked it 4th. Billboard had it at 5. Genius at number 10. Consequence at number 40. And NPR at number 100.
100.
What has Taylor said about this song?
Taylor said, I showed up for rehearsals for the Speak Now World Tour, and I was really upset and sad, and everyone could tell. It was really not fun to be around me that day. And so I started playing guitar and kind of playing the same 4 chords over and over again, and the band sort of joined in, and I started ad-libbing what I was going through and what I was feeling, and it went on. The song kept building and building and building in intensity, and the song just went on for about, 10 to 15 minutes of us doing this. The song All Too Well was the first song I wrote for this record, actually. It kept coming back to me because it told a story so well in such a fun way.
Full way.
Sorry, in such a full way, not a fun way. It starts with meeting someone and all the details about that innocent beginning, and it follows the story all the way to the bitter end. It's a really emotional song because it does show you why loss is so painful, because it was once good and you can remember it. The lyric I'm most proud of on the album is from All Too Well. And you call me up again just to break me like a promise, so casually cruel in the name of being honest.
Mm-hmm.
That was something I came up with while ranting during a sound check. I was just playing these chords over and over on stage, and my band joined in, and I went on a rant. Those were some of the lines I thought of. I was going through a really hard time then, and my band joined in playing, and one of the first things that I came up with, just like spat out, was, and you call me up again, just write me like a promise, so casually cruel in the name of being honest. It's weird because I feel like this song has two lives to it in my brain. In my brain, there's this life of this song, where this song was born out of catharsis and venting, and trying to get over something and trying to understand it and process it. And then there's the life where it went out into the world and you turned this song into something completely different for me. You turn this song into a collage of memories of watching you scream the words to this song, or seeing pictures that you post to me of you having written words to the song in your diary, or showing me your wrists and you have a tattoo of the lyrics to the song underneath your skin. And that is how you have changed the song All Too Well for me.
Taylor had a lot to say about this song.
She does, and she also loves talking Ronald sentences. Anyway.
What about the critical reception? Do the critics enjoy this song?
Rolling Stone said this song is Taylor Swift at her absolute best.
Clash said it will go down in history as one of the greatest breakup songs ever written.
NME called it an epic, almighty song, a long-awaited masterpiece well worth the wait.
And that is, of course, in reference to the 10-minute version. iNews called it astonishing.
Variety said the Swiftie holy grail, in a perfect world, she'd write 20 more verses and make a full album of it.
I would listen to that. Line of Best Fit called it a fascinating artifact of Taylor's writing and recording process. Its inclusion highlights the strengths of the song's truncated version, the result of some very well-informed artistic choices.
Spin called it Swift's single finest piece of songwriting.
Slant called it a masterpiece of construction and control.
USA Today called it a lyrically rich highlight.
Sputnik Music called it a towering breakup ballad that showcases Taylor's ability to express commonplace emotions in uniquely uncommon ways.
New Zealand Herald called it one of Taylor's most heartbreaking songs ever.
New York Times called it the favorite track of true Swift connoisseurs and music critics, gloriously unruly and viciously seething.
The Guardian called it a supreme public flogging. The Swift
text.
What is an erd?
It's like the master text, like the Bible. The earliest version of a book they can find is the text.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. That's on me being an idiot. Okay, anyway.
The Atlantic is called it a stunner, the ultimate Taylor Swift statement.
And Pitchfork said the 10-minute version is overly long and sprawling. It undermines the emotional climax of the shorter version. So only one negative.
Yep.
Really?
Yep. One negative and one...
It's really just about the length.
That kind of talks about that, but
yeah,
not so negatively. What about the fan reception? Do the fans enjoy this song?
Oh, man. Big boy Rob.
Had some thoughts.
He had some thoughts.
He had some thoughts.
So Rob ranked it number one.
Number one
of 243. And I think that is pretty safe to say.
I think so.
That most Swifties, if not all of them, would probably rank this song as her best song. Number one.
If not, I mean, it has to be close. Like
I personally cannot think of something else that deserves the number one spot more.
I can't either, but I could see it being,
Somebody's
I don't know, top 10 in the worst case.
I couldn't see it being less than top three.
Top three?
And I don't even know what the first two would be for that person who ranks at 3.
I don't know either.
So I don't know. Okay, so Rob says, so casually cruel in the name of being awesome. This towering ballad is Swift's zenith, building to peak after peak. For All Too Well, she teams up with her songwriting sensei, Liz Rose to spin a tragic tale of doomed love and scarves and autumn leaves and maple lattes. There's those lattes again. And her greatest song just got even greater in the definitive 10-minute version, with Taylor digging up her lost verses to bring it to a whole new level of All Too Unwell.
He's got jokes.
What kind of artist takes her own masterpiece and tears it all up? This one. Only this one. Result, an even bolder masterpiece. Every version of All Too Well tells a different story. There's the Sad Girl Autumn version from the Long Pond studio with Aaron Dessner on piano, the acoustic guitar solo version from the theater premiere for her short film, but each version feels like it's all her, because this isn't really a song about a boy. It never was. It's about a girl, her piano, her memory, and her refusal to surrender her most painful secrets, even when it's tempting to forget. It's full of killer moments. The way that she sings refrigerator, the way that she spits out the consonants of crumpled up piece of paper, the way she chews up 3 alls in a row. No other song does such a stellar job of showing her ability to blow up a trivial little detail into a legendary heartache. That scarf should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, although in a way it already is. You can schaden your Freude all over the celebrity she repeatedly sings about. But on the best day of your life, you will never inspire a song as great as All Too Well or write one.
Very true. Very true. I never will write as good a song as that.
No.
Or inspire it. And then r/Taylor Swift ranked it the best track on Red Taylor's version. The All Too Well 10-minute. And I think the shorter one was still top 5.
Yeah.
I didn't bother to write it down, but it was still high. Let's get into the lyrics. And there are a lot of them, so strap in.
Yep.
10 minutes worth. Verse number 1. I walked through the door with you. The air was cold, but something about it felt like home somehow. And I left my scarf there at your sister's house, and you've still got it in your drawer even now. The most famous scarf in the history of music, I have to think.
Yeah.
I can't think of any others. Left allegedly at Maggie Gyllenhaal's house, the Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Although she's not sure.
Although no one is sure. Some Swifties believe that the scarf may not actually have been a scarf at all. Really. It's instead a metaphor for Taylor's innocence and our virginity.
I feel like it could be both. It could be a real scarf, but it could also be a kind of play on words.
Yep, there are levels to things.
Yeah.
That's true. If they are right that it's a metaphor for her virginity, it's gross that they plowed at Maggie's house. Have some respect for your sister and her house.
But it could also be that they plowed like the night before, and then that next day they go to Maggie's.
I could see Jake Gyllenhaal banging his child bride at Maggie's house.
I mean, I could too, but I'm just saying it could also be that they didn't at Maggie's house. Could have been like the night before, and then it bled into the morning, and then they go to Maggie's house, and it's all wrapped in together, you know?
Could be.
I'm just saying different ways to read this song.
Yep. It's open to interpretation. Verse 2. Oh, your sweet disposition and my wide-eyed gaze. We're singing in the car, getting lost upstate.
Picking apples.
Autumn leaves falling down like pieces into place, and I can picture it after all these days. Is he sweet? He seemed so to Taylor at first, but I think he was being fake, because I think he's a fake man. I don't think there's anything real in there. He's fake all the way down. We'll get to that. Wide-eyed gaze is a reference to Taylor's youth and naivete. She is impressed by how much older and worldly this fancy gentleman of hers is, and she wants him to show her the world, shining, shimmering, splendid. And you know, based on Jake's personality, that he loves that shit, being the thing knower. I think that's why he was so keen to date a younger girl, even more so than, she's young, she's hot, whatever. That was part of it.
She doesn't know as much.
That was part of it. Me. But I think he's the type of person who needs to be perceived as smarter, more intelligent, wiser, more worldly than he is. And younger women look at him that way.
Yeah.
When you're young and in love, everything seems like it's fallen into place, man, because that's sort of the goal for a lot of young people. Get married, have kids, the white picket fence, all that. So the puzzle that is life is finally coming together. Particularly if your partner's older, I would imagine they've already got their life together in ways that you don't have yet. And theoretically, they can help you get there because they've already done it in their own life.
Yeah.
Pre-chorus, and I know it's long gone and that magic's not here no more. And I might be okay, but I'm not fine at all. So things have changed for Taylor. Now that she knows the ending, it's hard to look back and remember the beginning, right? I think I've seen this film before. I didn't like the ending. Taylor's a person who really likes words. I think that's fair to say. I think you have to be that type of person to write the okay versus fine line. People use them interchangeably all of the time, but they aren't, really. Fine is like new mint condition. It's fine. It's perfect. Everything is ideal. Okay is mid, passable, hanging in there, right? And so that's where Taylor is. She's okay, but she's not fine at all because she has been impacted by this thing, and she'll never be fine or like new again, right? Chorus number 1. Because there we are again on that little town street. You almost ran the red because you were looking over at me. Wind in my hair, I was there. I remember it all too well. Jake was old enough to know. Keep his eyes on the road and off of his child bride. Just want to say that. And here we have our first all too well. It won't be the last. Taylor clearly does remember it well if she can remember the wind in her hair. She wishes, because of the pain, that she couldn't remember it quite so vividly. Time heals largely because it helps us forget. It dulls the sharp edges of our memories, the ones that cut us up so bad. Makes it smoother and more bearable to live with. But it hasn't done that yet. Verse number 3. Photo album on the counter. Your cheeks were turning red. You used to be a little kid with glasses and a twin-sized bed. And your mother's telling stories about you on the t-ball team. Taught me about your past, thinking your future was me. And you were tossing me the car keys. Fuck the patriarchy. Keychain on the ground. We were always skipping town. And I was thinking on the drive down. Anytime now, he's gonna say it's love. We never called it what it was. Till we were dead and gone and buried. Check the pulse and come back swearing it's the same. After 3 months in the grave. And then you wondered where it went to as I reached for you. But all I felt was shame. And you held my lifeless frame. So, this is the point where the differences begin. Between the short version and the 10-minute version. The fuck the patriarchy keychain line. And I feel that difference every time still. It's very jarring to me. The new lyrics are less polished and less universally applicable. You know, they're more personalized to Taylor and Jake's situation. I don't think that makes them worse necessarily, but I definitely do feel the difference. First off, just want to say, nice glasses, nerd. It's an interesting part of a relationship when you first learn about your partner's past. Because obviously you know that they had one, right? They didn't just spring into being. But when you see the pictures and stuff, it just feels so much more real. And that's kind of a mindfuck moment. And I just don't trust a man who has a fuck the patriarchy keychain. And I say that not as a man, but as a feminist. It's the same energy that I have for people who like to get real religious on social media. It's fake and it's performative. If you're about something, you don't have to tell people because they'll see it.
Yeah.
You'll live it. You know what I mean? Don't talk about being a feminist, just be one.
Yeah.
That's all. And it feels like Taylor Swift really loved Mr. Dick and Balls, and he either didn't love her nearly as much, or he was just an emotionally unavailable ass hat. He broke Taylor's heart, and he killed their relationship, but then wanted to pick back up months later at the coffee shop, perhaps.
Yeah.
Like ain't nothing changed. And I just want to say there's something wrong with this dude. There's something wrong with it.
Well, he thought, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. She's dragging me down. And then he got bored and was like, maybe I'll give it another go.
Yeah, any port in a storm, right? Sick bastard. Anyway, pre-chorus. I know it's long gone, and there was nothing else I could do, and I forget about you long enough to forget why I needed to. Taylor did her best, but when you're the only one trying in a relationship, it just isn't going to work. Here, she's in the sort of between space. Time has just begun working that magic and sanding those edges, but that's making things worse in the short term because Taylor forgets and then remembers it all over again. And it's almost like it happened all over again.
Yeah, I also like this in this pre-chorus. In the idea of like, I give it just enough time to wear off, and then you come back to my door, knocking on it again, going, let's get back together. And then I go, oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Right?
And then it's cyclical, like all of her other relationships that we talked about.
Right. Yep. She's in a bad spiral. Bad spiral. Chorus number 2. Because there we are again in the middle of the night. We're dancing around the kitchen and the refrigerator light. Down the stairs. I was there. I remember it all too well. And there we are again when nobody had to know. You kept me like a secret, but I kept you like an oath. Sacred prayer. And we'd swear to remember it all too well. Yeah! So Taylor doesn't sleep. You sleep. She's awake. That's why she's Taylor Swift and you're nobody. While you sleep, she stays grinding. She's built different.
She is built different, that's for sure.
It's true. Jet lag is the choice. Secret versus oath is one of the lines that did not make it into the original, which sucks because it is a quality line.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor again is playing with words, right? What does it mean to keep something? Well, it can mean very different things, as we see here. Jake kept Taylor on the down low, rather than being proud of her and letting the diamond shine. Taylor kept him close to her heart, like her most prized possession. She cherished him. She was in it for the long haul. And he was in it for the puss.
Yeah.
It's a different thing. Bridge. Well, maybe we got lost in translation. Maybe I asked for too much. But maybe this thing was a masterpiece till you tore it all up. Running scared, I was there. I remember it all too well. And you call me up again just to break me like a promise. So casually cruel in the name of being honest. I'm a crumpled up piece of paper lying here because I remember it all too well. So, the official stance of Cowboys Like Us podcast, Jake Gyllenhaal, a bitch.
Agreed.
He a bitch. Lost in translation, I think is probably pretty accurate. He thought it was one thing, much more casual, fun thing, and she thought it was a different thing, a more serious, early stages of love thing. Communication is the linchpin, children, of all healthy relationships. Not only romantic ones, although certainly them too. Any relationship. You gotta be on the same page. You gotta know what you're doing, what you want, and you'll avoid so much heartache that way.
I think it's interesting that she has the line in here, running scared, I was there. I remember it all too well.
Right.
And then he specifically says, like, I don't know, I guess I blew it up, I was scared, I don't know what to tell you, kind of thing.
Yep, you were running scared. It's true.
Everybody knew it, apparently.
Yep. Taylor didn't ask for too much. She asked it of a person who was never inclined to give it to her. They wanted different things. So, yeah. It wasn't a masterpiece, Taylor. You were young. You didn't know any better. But there's better out there. Hopefully you found it with Mr. Kelsey.
I think it's safe to say at this age, too, that Taylor was in the relationship, even if he thought he was being outright and saying, like, oh, I just want to have some fun, I'm not really serious about it. When you're 19, 20, 21 years old, something in the back of your mind tells you, like, but he'll change his mind.
That's right. Once he
It'll
sees
be different. Yeah,
what I got.
I can change him.
Yep. I can
really,
fix him.
Yeah, I can fix him. No, really, I can.
That's right. I've said it on this podcast before. I'll say it again. He's not complicated. He's just mentally ill. That's all.
Yeah.
And the casually cruel in the name of being honest, that's probably the most famous couplet in all of Taylor's discography. It's iconic. And in the 10-minute version, it becomes even more interesting, I think, because of the kept you like an oath line. An oath is like a super promise, right? It's sacred, has a religious aspect. Jake never saw his relationship with Taylor on that level, just as the more mundane promise which he broke, because that's what he does. He's a liar. And goddamn, casually cruel in the name of being honest describes so many people in this world. You know them. The people who are like, I'm not mean, I'm just honest. Fuck off with that bullshit. You're an asshole. That's who you are. If that's the shoe you want to wear, you go ahead. Don't lie and say it ain't what it is. Don't piss on my leg and try to tell me it's raining. You know? He threw Taylor away like a crumpled up piece of paper, you know? Do you ever feel like a plastic bag floating through the wind?
Drifting through the wind.
Drifting through the wind. Wanting to start again? Or a crumpled up piece of paper lying there?
Because you remember it all too well.
All too well. Verse number 4. They say all's well that ends well, but I'm in a new hell every time you double cross my mind. You said if we had been closer in age, maybe it would have been fine, and that made me want to die. The idea you had of me, who was she? A never needy, ever lovely jewel whose shine reflects on you. Not weeping in a party bathroom. Some actress asking me what happened. You? That's what happened. You. You who charmed my dad with self-effacing jokes, sipping coffee like you're on a late night show. Then he watched me watch the front door all night, willing you to come, and he said it's supposed to be fun, turning 21.
I will say for me personally, this verse was what sold me on the 10-minute version. This is my favorite verse, I think, of maybe any song ever. It is just great. It's amazing.
Bars, yeah. It's bonkers. So all's well that ends well doesn't actually really apply in this situation, though, because it ended super badly. So in fact, all is not well because it did not end well. But well does rhyme with hell, though. And so, as Kimberly's theory goes, that's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes words just rhyme.
Sometimes words just rhyme.
Double cross my mind. That's a spicy meatball.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one. I like that one. And Mr. Dick and Balls, you don't get to fuck young girls and then tell them they're too young for you. That's not how this shit works.
Yeah.
The absolute fucking audacity of this man.
Because, I mean, to be honest, if you fuck young girls and then you tell them they're too young for you, that makes you look grosser than anything.
Yeah. You're old enough to fuck, but you're not old enough to...
Yeah, you're old enough to seduce them into sleeping with you, then you're not old enough to handle their immaturity, as you claim.
That's the most disgusting thing I can think of.
Uh-huh.
So, couldn't be me. I think a big reason that a lot of relationships fail is due to people creating these idolized versions of their partners, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think because of the patriarchy that we all live under, that this is especially true for men. We put women up on these pedestals like they're these perfect little statues, right? Then, when they prove that they aren't perfect because they're real people and not statues, we blame them for it. And that's not fair. Women are human beings, just like men, with flaws and imperfections. That doesn't mean they're less worthy of love because people are messy and complicated, and that's fine. Find somebody who's messy and complicated in a way that complements the way that you are messy and complicated. That's the best that you can hope for. There's not some perfect person out there. And the some actress mentioned in this verse is Academy Award winner Anne Hathaway. And I just want to say, put some respect on her name, Kelly.
Well, I'm sure she was doing that for her own privacy.
Don't reduce her to some actress.
I'm not sure if it's confirmed anywhere what exactly party, like, if they got into a fight when she went to the bathroom, whatever, what party they were at, that Anne Hathaway was consoling her in the bathroom. But I do know that Anne and Jake are friends.
Mm.
So the fact that they would be at a party together makes a lot of sense. And we do know that it was Anne Hathaway.
Yep. And I think that the part about him talking to her dad is a good indicator of who this dude is. He's no one. Underneath his happy-go-lucky, oh shucks, just happy to be here facade, there is this howling void where his soul was supposed to go. And he can't let anyone get very close to him because then they'll see it.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're gonna, you're definitely gonna fuck his barely legal daughter and leave her heartbroken, but you gotta charm the dad.
Yeah.
You can't tell him that's what you're gonna do.
Yep, just gotta grin at him with that shit-eating grin like, yeah, I've been fucking your daughter.
You gotta make him love you so that it hurts more when you leave.
He needs to be loved by everyone because he doesn't have anything inside. He is all outside, external validation.
I like to believe, though, that based on the line, it's supposed to be fun turning 21, and on, the moment I knew, I feel like Scott probably saw through Jake's bullshit. So, when he didn't show up to her birthday, he's like, don't let this get you down, I knew this was coming, but I couldn't tell you. You had to learn on your own.
That is some true shit. That is true shit. My parents did it. Tried to tell me things, but would I learn?
Yeah, no. I mean, you're
Nope.
not going to listen. You're going to be like, what do you know? You're just trying to ruin my fun.
Yeah. I had to make the mistake and then be like, damn, that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Yep.
They tried to tell me, but usually it's years down the road when you're like, oh, yeah, they tried to tell me.
Yep, I had that Old Town Road attitude. Can't nobody tell me nothing.
Exactly.
And yeah, just good job ruining Taylor's 21st birthday, you wang.
Yeah, it's such a momentous birthday for you to just destroy.
And for what? And for what? How hard would it have been to come to the party?
Exactly.
It's a party, guy. Fuck's sake.
But, you know, we got 22 out of it. Her 21st birthday was ruined by Jake, so she had to make a bigger deal out of turning 22, and so we got a whole song out of it.
There you go. Verse number 5. Time won't fly. It's like I'm paralyzed by it. I'd like to be my old self again, but I'm still trying to find it. After plaid shirt days and nights when you made me your own, now you mail back my things and I walk home alone. But you keep my old scarf from that very first week, 'cause it reminds you of innocence and it smells like me. You can't get rid of it, 'cause you remember it all too well. Yeah. I relate very hard to the old self line. An ex of mine made me change everything about myself, and it still, in the end, wasn't good enough for her, so she dipped on me, and she stole my muffin pan. You know, the muffin pan, my scarf is a muffin pan.
That's true. If you wrote the song, it would be a muffin tin.
Yep. You still keep my muffin tin. Yeah. Who the hell was I supposed to be then, though, after she hit
It
it?
reminds you of innocence and it smells like muffins.
Just like muffins. Yep. Delicious. He made her his own by laying the pipe. The sick bastard. Dirty, sex pervert, Jake Gyllenhaal. Scarf, innocence. We see that referenced again. Yeah. Does the scarf represent Taylor's virginity that he keeps? Maybe. It would remind him of innocence, and it smells like her, you know.
Right. So when I first heard this song, and obviously it was the short version,
Mm-hmm.
the halvesies, if you will. The scarf, initially, I was like, oh, it's a real scarf, right? And this was the line where I was like, oh my god, maybe it's not a scarf. Like, this was the line that sold me that, like, they boned.
Yeah, they boned. There's no doubt about that. Taylor asserts that despite how he seemed not to care, he said he didn't, but maybe he did care more than he would ever let on. He remembers it all too well. He keeps the scarf, because he too is marked by what happened, and he cannot go back to the before time when it didn't happen. Chorus, because there we are again, when I loved you so, back before you lost the one real thing you've ever known. It was rare, I was there, I remember it all too well. We did my hair, you were there, you remember it all. Down the stairs, you were there, you remember it all. It was rare, I was there, I remember it all too well. This relationship really feels like the big one to me, right? The one where Taylor truly realized what it means to put yourself out there, only to have someone throw you away like you were trash, a crumpled up piece of paper lying here.
Yep.
Once that happens, you aren't the same. As children, we think that people are generally good, but the world disillusions us of that at some point. And we realize, damn, some people are just out here hurting people, and they either don't have the capacity to understand that that's what they're doing, or don't have the capacity to care that that's what they're doing. And that's a hard lesson to learn.
The line back before you lost the one real thing you've ever known is such a zinger.
Yep.
Just stab him right in the balls, you know?
Yep, because he's fake. And all his friends are fake.
And also, like, it's like a level of I'm mature enough to know now that I'm the best thing that you ever gonna find, you know?
Mm-hmm. You keep that scarf, motherfucker, because you ain't never gonna get no better
Yep.
than that. Verse number 6. And I was never good at telling jokes, but the punchline goes, I'll get older, but your lovers stay my age. From when your Brooklyn broke my skin and bones, I'm a soldier who's returning half her weight. And did the twin flame bruise paint you blue? Just between us, did the love affair maim you too? 'Cause in this city's barren cold, I still remember the first fall of snow and how it glistened as it fell. I remember it all too well. So, never good at telling jokes. Reference to Dazed and Confused, I assume. where Matthew McConaughey says, "That's what I love about these high school girls, man. I get older, they stay the same age."
Yeah, pretty
And
much.
Taylor has botched it because she's never good at telling jokes. Jake is a dirty bitch who preys on younger women, or as he would say, girls, because they make him feel smarter and more mature than he is. Women his own age would see him for what he is, which is pathetic. Taylor did not fit in with the hipster indie crowd that Jake hangs with. He's pretentious. We've talked about that. Reference to Taylor's struggles with an eating disorder, the half her weight, or simply a commentary on how much of a rough experience the breakup was for Taylor? Both?
I think it's both.
I think it's both.
That was also a gut-wrenching thing to hear. Like, the first listen through the 10-minute version, I was like, woo! Oof!
Yeah. She's shell-shocked, you know? She's not the same as she was going in. Twin Flame is a woo-woo version of Soulmates, and it's also a potential callback to twin fire signs from State of Grace.
Yes, because they are both fire signs.
Yep. They're twin flames. Taylor asking Jake something versus telling him what she knows he felt is interesting. It suggests that she's not looking for information here, right? She's looking for a confession, an acceptance of what they both know to be the truth, even if it's just between the two of them, which he will not give her, ever, I don't imagine. I would not hold my breath if I was Taylor.
Yeah. Between that chorus and then verse 6, that's where the 10-minute version feels like it should end, at the end of that chorus. And then verse 6 starts with, "And I was never good at telling jokes," and you're like, the song is still going on?
Yeah, and the song keeps going after verse 6, but
Yeah.
it's just like choral, ethereal, the different.
Yeah, she just kind of like all too well over and
yeah.
over and over again. Yeah.
Yeah.
And did the
Sacred Prayer, I was there,
Yeah.
and all that shit. Let's get into our overall thoughts on this song. Kimberly, what have you got? Nothing in the document.
Well, here's the thing. I've said a lot during the lyrics already about what the different parts of the song that, mean things to me, and that hit me right or wrong or better than others or whatever. But this song is crazy good from start to finish. Even the 10-minute version.
Right.
Even when you think it should end and it keeps going, it's still so good. And for something to affect her so much, to get this song out of it, is wild. And I think that is what makes their relationship so interesting
Right.
to Swifties and stuff, because this is what we got out of it. Plus the other songs that I mentioned earlier, but this song in particular, like, ooh boy, the hurt that he put on her. But this song is just, it's honestly baffling how well it's written and how, like, just the levels of metaphors. And I probably could have written some funny things about how I listened to it, literally the first time. But I'm not even going to do that because the song is so good.
Okay. For me, I just want to say, off the top, fuck Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yep.
All my homies hate Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yep.
And to me, as of now, as of this recording, Tortured Poets Department has not come out. That may or may not matter. But as of now, this is still Taylor's grand artistic statement, right? It's an encapsulation of what makes her an era-defining megastar, with so many other artists, despite having some good songs, never quite get to that level, right? It's her Purple Rain or her Smells Like Teen Spirit, the one that you point to and you're like, that's what, when it changed, man. It wasn't the same again after that, an all-timer, one for the all-time lists.
Yeah.
It's great, both lyrically and melodically. No notes on that. The short version is, I will still argue, better, and I mean that in the objective sense. I think it shows a lot of something that Taylor often, all the time, forever, fails to display, and that's self-editing.
Yeah.
She took a natural, raw, unpolished gem, and she cut it, and she polished it until it really shone. However, I think the 10-minute version might be better subjectively, because it's massive, and it is raw, and it doesn't hold anything back. And so it's just pure catharsis, right? And I think there's something very powerful about that, and you can really feel it. At least I can when I listen to it. So
Yeah, I think the bonus thing about the 10-minute version is that we get more of those zinger lines. Like, we're exposed to more lyrics of the song written at the same time, where we get more of those, like, man, that's such a good line, that we missed out on in the first part. But the first version of the song was the one that we all listened to and went, holy shit, this song is amazing.
right.
So I think, it's not that one's better than the other necessarily, like you're saying. They're different. They're better in different ways.
Yeah, I think they're different, and I think they're for different audiences. Like, I think the 10-minute is for the true Swiftie heads, man. I don't think the broader public will get much out of it.
Yeah, I think
they wouldn't from the radio.
The 10-minute version is for the people who have listened to the regular version and want more, need more, crave more. But yeah, I mean, the average Joe definitely could listen to the original version and be like, hell yeah. They're not going to dedicate the time to a 10-minute version, but they're going to listen to the original.
Yeah. I mentioned Prince already. I'll bring it back again. There is a song on the album Purple Rain called Computer Blue that is like 3 minutes long. And there is a longer version that the true heads know called the Hallway Speech version that's 12 minutes long. And it's crazy. It's a good song. But the general public wouldn't vibe with it. So I think it was a smart artistic choice to cut it for the record.
Yeah.
To make it more accessible to the general public.
I mean, the fact that he took it from 12 to 3 is pretty impressive. She only went from 10 to 5.
Yeah, well, he had an extended, like, guitar solo and stuff in that he cut. So,
okay.
Yeah, that helped. But sometimes editing is a good thing. That's all. Any other thoughts you had before we get to our ratings?
Oh, I would say for me personally, the only song that we have gotten as a... And this is in relation to, like, Taylor's versions coming out and stuff. The only vault song that we've gotten that I think rivals, like, getting the 10-minute version is on that level of even the first listen through you ever do of, like, All Too Well standard version would be Is It Over Now? I don't necessarily think that Is It Over Now is, like, better than All Too Well or whatever. I really have to sit down and think about that one. But I think that it's the closest second that we've gotten to such a, like, passionately, like, effective song that she's written like this, where the lyrics you're just like, damn!
Yeah, that's just really goes in.
Yeah.
Scathing, yeah. I get that.
Really pinpointing on some key things to be like, this is who I'm talking about, this is what I'm talking about, this is the thing that you know about that I'm referencing, and, like, really digging it in.
I'm hopeful we get some of that on Tortured Poets. I'm hoping Smallest Man Who Ever Lived does that to Joe Alwyn.
It's Joe's time, baby!
I hope so. We'll see. But for now, let's get into our ratings. For those of you who may not know, we rate every song on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is extremely bad, 10 is extremely good, and 5 is extremely mid. Kimberly, how do you rate All Too Well?
It's a 10. It's a perfect song. No notes. As a OG Swiftie, the 10-minute version is still also a perfect song, even though I do have one point, like I mentioned, where I think the song should actually end and then it keeps going. But, so be it. I'll take anything she'll give me. So it's a 10.
Right. For me, it's also a 10. And the only reason that it is a 10 is because I can't give it an 11. That's not how our scale works.
Yeah.
Because, this is Taylor's best song.
And Justin won't let us break the scale just for effect.
Despite the fact that some dumbasses on our social media will put like 13 of 10 or 13 billion out of 10.
Exactly.
I still count it as a 10, guys, so I don't know who the hell you're doing that for.
But this, for record, this song would be a 13 or a 22 or a 1989 out of 10.
Yep.
If we could.
It would be the highest possible score because that's how the scale works.
Yep.
And that goes to 10. So it's a 10.
For the shits and gigs, we probably should have made our ranking system 13 out of 13.
Possibly, but
yeah,
we're here now.
Too late.
If you'd like to tell us how you rate this song, you can do it on Spotify. There's going to be a poll in the episode description. And you can vote on our various social media platforms. Kimberly, what are we on now?
We are on Instagram, X, Threads, TikTok, YouTube, Patreon. We're also on Lemonade.
Lemonade. Yes, friend of the pod, Christy, suggested we should get on that.
Yep. And
And so we
Gremlin's
did.
been on it.
Yep.
So now we're on Limit 8. So check us out on all of those platforms, is what I was trying to say.
That's right.
At CBLU_podcast.
That's right. Follow us on all those things and don't miss a moment of that sweet, sweet CBLU podcast content. Kimberly, what song are we going to talk about next week?
We are talking about the Tortured Poets Department. The song.
That's right. The Tortured Poets Department, the song. Because we're going to get in the spirit of the album release
Yep.
thing. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. You expected at this point, I like to think, if you're
Yeah.
listening. We're going to have a hopefully same day
Bonus drop.
album release
Yeah.
reaction episode on Friday, April 19th. So
Yeah. So 2 more episodes coming at you.
that's right. So strap in. It's going to be wild.
So much Tortured Poets Department happening.
Mm-hmm.
How many times do I accidentally call it the Tortured Poets Society? We'll see.
We will indeed. keep a count at home. Until then, thank you so much for listening. We will see you next week in the Tortured Poets Department. Goodbye.
Get the hell out of here.
Bye.
Pod Gremlin Maybe here. Thanks for listening to Cowboys Like Us. Follow us on all platforms at CBLU_podcast. You can find us on Instagram, X, the zombie Twitter, TikTok, and Threads. We're now posting our episodes on YouTube. Head over there and like and subscribe. All of these links can be found in our link tree in the episode description. Thanks for supporting the pod. Y'all come back now, you hear?